Hello and welcome back to my weekly health blog. Those of you who've been following along know that I've been away on holidays, and it's always great to get away on holidays. We always have such a great time. It's a family cottage and there's always a million family members coming and going and getting together. It's always a great time to just hang out and relax and water ski and tube, and a little sore right now from tubing with my niece the other day. My brother-in-law threw me off about 4 times. Sometimes I think I'm getting a little too old for that, but it was fun, and it's always great to get away. But you know what? It's actually always great to come home because I love my job. I love working with clients. I love teaching people how to understand, what their illnesses are and why they have illness and how to overcome that illness. And so this week's blog, I am discussing the purpose of disease. We all have been brought up with this huge fear of what disease is. I mean, I certainly know I have grown up with when you're losing grandparents and parents and friends of the family and relatives to, cancer and heart disease and so on. It can be scary, and no one teaches us that there's any right thing about disease. It's all negative. And so when we grow up, we're all incredibly fearful of disease. And the one thing I've learned in my own, 30-year journey towards understanding my own health issues is that disease is not really all that scary. Yeah, it sucks when you get a disease, but what we need to start understanding is that disease actually has a biological mandate, that its job is to teach us something. It's a catalyst. It's what propels us off that big comfy couch of nothingness and being, just okay and living life in somewhat of a balance to move us forward in our own individual evolution. Every single disease has a unique state of mind that triggers it to affect us. So what I want people to start to understand is looking at their lives instead of being fearful of disease and not doing anything about it, or working so damn hard that you're not ever going to succumb to it, but still being in fear of disease is not really true health. True health is taking the ownership of understanding, okay, this is my body, this is my health, these are my inherited tendencies, because inherited tendencies play into everything. We all understand that and we all know that, even though doctors now want to pretend that, oh no, inheritances don't really trigger anything. Yeah, they do actually. They give you a weakness or a susceptibility. Doesn't mean you're going to succumb to it. I mean, I have huge heart disease in my family, and I have huge cancer issues, and I have huge diabetes issues. And I spent a lot of my life fighting hypoglycemic issues and getting tested for diabetes all the time. And what I want people to understand is that, yes, we need to take ownership of our health. And yes, we need to do whatever we can to understand ourselves as an individual. What are our unique weaknesses, and how can we go about strengthening those weaknesses so that we don't succumb to disease? But also recognizing that if we do succumb to a disease, don't just lay down and let it take over. We need to start not being fearful of disease and thinking of it as the big bad wolf and the enemy that's just out to get us. No, it's not its purpose. It's not the bad guy. It actually is just simply trying to encourage you to improve your own individual evolution. So what we need to start doing is recognizing, what does every single disease tell us? What is my unique state trying to tell me? What is your unique state trying to tell you? What is it that you yourself are trying to overcome? What are you fighting for yourself? What I wanted to also explain is that when we, go around and suppress our ability to fight a disease, because we're seeing more and more vaccines being created for this disease now and that disease and everything else, not just the childhood illnesses anymore, which really the childhood illnesses are self-limiting acute diseases. They're not even death-defying, but we vaccinate for them. And now we want to vaccinate for cancers and meningitis, which yes is a vaccine now, but the HPV, all these crazy things that we're petrified to get, instead of simply taking the time to understand, why am I susceptible to it? What is my body trying to tell me? What is my soul and spirit trying to overcome and work through and resolve, and then go and do that work? Do what you need to do as an individual to overcome the disease. We need to allow everyone to take the ownership, to get off their big comfy couch, get off their ass, and do some due diligence, do some work to improve their own self, to improve their own health. When you do that, when you take effort and courage and you work towards fixing yourself in every capacity, you make yourself a greater, better person. And when you find that true level of health and true level of self, then you can give back to the rest of the world a little bit more for them. And that's certainly what I'm hoping I'm doing. I'm hoping I'm encouraging people to don't be afraid of disease. It's not the big bad wolf. You know, my kids when they were little used to always wonder, why do you call everything a disease? Isn't that scary or creepy? Because they were already trained to be afraid of disease. Disease is not the bad guy. It's simply a lesson. It's a tool to use to recognize what is it that you need to overcome? What is it that you need to resolve, to work on? What is it about yourself that you have not maybe been recognizing? And that's what the disease kind of throws in your face. So don't be afraid of disease. Let's recognize disease as actually a friendly neighbor that's trying to get your attention, that's trying to tell you that, hey, you got a problem over there. You know, maybe you should do something about that. And say, okay, you know what? I'm willing to actually do the work. I'm willing to look at myself. I'm willing to do what it takes to make myself a greater, better, healthy human being. And at the end of the day, that's all we can really do is work on our own stuff. And that was my blog this week. I can't really think of anything else to say about disease. It's not the bad guy. So in True Resonant Health, take care. You know, try to start looking at what it is you need to be fixing in your life to make your life better, because it's all about you. Take care and see you next week.